Hey everyone, it's Deja Yetmir from CrochetEverAfter.com, and today we are making our newest motif of the month, and this is commonly called a wagon wheel motif. Since it's October, I'm making it in my favorite alternate Halloween colors, purple and green. So I'm just using some medium weight Knit Picks Bravo worsted in the purple and green color, and I'm going to be using a 6mm US J hook for the project. You can substitute with a smaller hook if you want kind of a smaller motif. You can you can use these as a coaster. You can join them around the edges to make a blanket, a shawl, just about anything, even though it's circular. But let's grab the pattern with the link below the video, and you can go ahead and get started with me. Alright, so to begin our project, what we're going to do is put a slip knot on our hook. The tail you just want long enough to be able to weave in, no specific length. And then we're just going to chain 4 so that we can make an open center ring for our project. So we yarn over, turn our hook down so we can pull easily through our loop. Yarn over, pull through, and yarn over and pull through. So once you have your 4 chains, then you're going to join with a slip stitch in the first chain that you made. So you can grab just the back loop or the back loop and bottom bump, whichever you prefer. It doesn't really matter because after we're done working round 1, you won't be able to see it anyways. So I'm just going to put my hook right through that loop, yarn over and pull through that loop, and then pull through the loop that's on my hook to finish my slip stitch. So now I have a complete ring, and I have a center hole that I'm going to be working in for round 1. Okay, now I'm ready for my round 1 instructions. What it's telling me is I'm going to do a special stitch called a DC puff. Now, if you've never seen special stitches before, if you look above at the beginning of your pattern, it will usually give you the instructions on how to perform those special stitches. So for this DC puff, what I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the center of my chain 4. So I'm inserting it right into the center of my ring, and I'm yarning over and pulling up a loop. And it says to do that twice. So that means I'm going to yarn over again, go back in the center, and pull up another loop. Now I have 5 loops on my hook. My last step of my DC puff is to yarn over and just pull through all 5 of those. So now my puff is complete, and part of my repeat is to chain 1. So that kind of locks my DC puff into place and allows me to start making my next one. I usually like to leave my tail out of small rings like this rather than working them in, because even if I work around this tail, I'm still going to have it sticking out at the end. So I'd rather just leave it out now so I don't have to worry about it, and I can weave it in at the end. So now I'm going to do another DC puff, yarn over again. You can see my hole has opened up more, so I can easily find where to put my hook. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, or lay over as I usually say, pull up that loop, yarn over, insert back in, pull it up, and I kind of pull high. Usually I like to keep my loops the same size as my shaft, and I do that when I have regular stitches, but this DC puff, I want this center of my motif to be nice and puffy and large, so I'm pulling up my loop kind of as high as I can go, where I'm still keeping this loop the same size as my shaft. So just keep pulling those up. Each one's going to get a little taller than the last. And then I have 5 loops. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 5, and then make that chain 1. And the chain 1 I keep the same size as my shaft also, just to keep my stitches nice and even on top. So the only time I'm pulling out the loops are on my DC puff. So again, yarn over, insert into the center, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull it up nice and high, yarn over, insert, pull up nice and high, and then keep this last loop the same size as your shaft. So that way when you do your chain 1, all of your stitches along the edge are looking the same size. So I've done 3, I need to do 5 more, so continue around making your DC puffs and your chain 1 until you get a total of 8. I'm on my last DC puff, got the 5 loops, yarning over, then I have that very last chain 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to join my round by slip stitching in the top of that very first DC puff. So I'm just going to put my hook through both loops, yarn over and pull that through, and then pull through the loop that's on my hook to finish off my slip stitch. So now I have all 8 completed, and it tells me to fasten off. And the reason that I'm not just joining my color is because I'm actually going to join it in those chain 1 spaces. So I need to fasten off my purple so I can start working with my green. And I usually do like a long chain to fasten off. Grab my scissors. So we'll cut this and we'll get our green to start round 2. Alright, I've got round 1 all finished and fastened off, and now I'm ready to join round 2. So I'm going to be adding in my green color now. So start with a slip knot on your hook. Always leave your tail long enough for you to comfortably weave in. So if you are good with weaving in short tails, you can make it short. If you like long tails to be able to sew easily, make them nice and long. Mine are usually 6 to 12 inches, depending on how I feel. So the next instruction is with the slip knot on my hook, I'm going to join my color at any of my chain 1 spaces. So I usually kind of just keep going in my circle, so I go to the next one that I come to after my fasten off. And I'm going to join it with a slip stitch. So I'm going to just grab with my hook and pull it through, fling my tail over, and just pull through the loop that's already on my hook. And then I'm going to tighten that down, because that's just to join. It's not a stitch that needs to be seen. So you want to tighten it down so it's just attached. Then I'm going to chain 3, and it says this chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So you can make it a beefed up chain 3, which I'll show you what that means. What I like to do if it's going to count as a stitch is usually make it a little bit beefier. So I pull out the loop a little bit each time I make a chain. And I yarn over and pull through the loop and pull it out a little. Pull through and pull it out a little, then pull through. And the reason that I do this is because I'm going to be doing another double crochet in this chain 1 space also. And when I do that, it kind of squishes down my chain 3 and it makes it look more like a double crochet instead of a skinny chain 3 that it is. So you'll see when I come back around that it's going to blend in better than if I just did a normal chain 3. Now my next actual instruction is to chain 2, and then we're going to have a repeat. So I'm just going to do a normal chain 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and double crochet 2 times in my next chain 1 space. And that's what my repeat is going to be all the way around. Every chain 1 space I come to, I'm going to do 2 double crochets, and in between each of my 2 double crochets I'm doing 2 chains. So we're going to do that all the way around for round 2, and then join up and fasten off again. So 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And when you're working into these chain 1 spaces, go all the way around the stitch. Don't try to find just a back loop or the top 2 loops. Just go all the way around the stitch, and that's going to help open up your centers here because you want that nice big hole to show. Okay, I'm at my last 2 double crochets, and I just have 2 more chains to make, and then I'm going to join my round. And I'm going to join at the top of my chain 3. So I find my third chain by counting up, and I always like to catch 2 loops when I join with my chain, and I'll show you why if you've never seen before. If I was to just grab my back loop, like when I'm working a foundation chain, I usually just grab the back loop. If I grab that for my slip stitch, you see that it pulls all my other chains out of shape and creates this big hole. So by catching 2 loops, it keeps my chains, just pulling those to get them back to how they were, it keeps them from pulling out of shape. So grab your back loop and your bottom bump, and then slip stitch. Then you'll see that it doesn't pull on the rest of them. Now I'm going to fasten this off so that I can begin round 3. So when I fasten off, I just yarn over and pull a chain, and then pull it really long and tighten it down to cut it. Now I'm going to join up for round 3, and I'm going to show you a little trick on how you can start a new round without slip stitching to join. So stick around for that one. Alright, we've got round 1 and 2 done. Getting lots of tails. We're going to have lots of tails by the end of this. And now I'm going to show you a trick on how to begin a round without slip stitching and using chains. So as you can see, this is my beefed up chain 3, so you can see it kind of blends in better with my double crochets rather than just a skinny chain 3. So to begin this trick, you're going to start with a slip knot on your hook, just like before. So this is going to take place of the pattern instructions that say join with a slip stitch and then chain 3. What we're going to do actually instead is join with a double crochet. Now the way we do this, and the reason that it's not written in the pattern, is because it's kind of hard to explain in words. You kind of have to see it to understand it. So with our slip stitch, we're going to start doing a double crochet. We're going to yarn over, and we're joining in any chain 2 space. So again, I like to go just kind of left of where I fastened off, and I lost my yarn over, so make sure that you kind of hold on to it so it doesn't slip around like that and you lose it. So yarn over and kind of hold on to it. Then you're going to insert your hook, keep your tail behind you, insert your hook in that chain 2 space. Then we're just going to kind of do a regular double crochet. Yarn over, pull up your loop. Got 3 loops. Make sure you hold on to your loops so that they don't unwind themselves. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, then yarn over and pull through the last 2. And now we have just begun our round with a double crochet instead of that chain 3. So now we're really not going to be seeing a skinny chain 3 on this round. You can substitute this for any kind of pattern that wants you to join a new round with a chain 3. Okay, when you make this stitch, don't worry about the tail being up top instead of being joined at the bottom like it would with a slip stitch. It's still the same process of weaving in. You still want to hide it in your stitches, so it doesn't really matter whether the tail's up top or down below, so don't worry about that. Now our pattern tells us that all in this same chain 2 space, we're going to do another double crochet, then we're going to chain 1, and then do 2 double crochets, all going around that chain 2. And we work around the chains so that we get that nice big open hole again. Now we're going to chain 1 and start working our pattern repeat. So our pattern repeat tells us to double crochet 2 times, chain 1, double crochet 2 times in every chain 2 space that we come to. And after we make this little pattern of our 2 double crochets, our chain 1, and our 2 double crochets, before we start the next one, we're going to put 1 chain in between each of those. So I do 1 chain after that second set. And so what it essentially is 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, all the way around. So again, I'm going to do 2 double crochets, I'm going to chain 1, do 2 double crochets again in the same spot, and chain 1 again. And I'm going to keep doing that in every single space I come to. So I'm going to make 8 of these in all. So keep on working around and we'll meet up at the end of this round. I'm doing my last 2 double crochets of my last chain 2 space. Sometimes these tails get in the way, just kind of pull them aside if they're bothering you. And then all I have left is my chain 1, and then I'm going to join up my round with a slip stitch in the top of my double crochet, since I didn't do a chain 3, but I have just the normal V-loop up top with a V-stitch from my double crochet, so it's nice and easy to join with a slip stitch. So that's another benefit of working that joining double crochet instead of the chain 3. So once again I'm going to fasten off because I'm going to do another double crochet join, so you can see that again with my green from my very last round. So let's cut this and get our green yarn. I'm ready to join in my green, so I'm going to do my double crochet join again so you can see that. So once again we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. If you're following the pattern, no problem, you can just do the slip stitch and chain 3, but if you'd like to try this technique, it's pretty easy. You just got to hold on to your loops so they don't start spinning around on you. So I can join with any chain 1 space it tells me. So again, I'm just going to go to the left of where I fastened off into that very first chain 1 space. So I'm going to first yarn over and hold on to my loop, and then put my hook through that chain 1 space. Then I'm going to lay over my yarn and pull up my loop, and then I'm going to finish off my double crochet. So pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the second 2. And notice I grab this tail when I'm pulling through. So if you're having trouble pulling through because it's moving as you're working, grab the tail with any fingers that you can, and it'll hold your loop steady so you can pull through easily. So that'll help you finish off your stitch. Now we just have our last round to do, and what we're going to do is 2 more double crochets in this same chain 1 space. So we're going to have 3 double crochets when we finish. And then we're going to start our pattern. We're going to do a chain 1, that's the end of the pattern actually, but we're going to double crochet 3 times in every chain 1 space that we come to. And in between those 3 double crochets, we're putting a chain 1. So I do 3 double crochets, I chain 1, then I go to my next chain 1 space. I'm going to do 3 double crochets in there, and then I'm going to do another chain 1 and move to my next chain 1 space. As you can see, the ones in between the 2 doubles in here are a lot bigger. So those are easy to see. When you get to your chain 1 space that's got the connected double crochets in that from the round before, it's a little smaller, so don't skip those. You need to put your double crochets in there. So find that chain 1 space and put 3 double crochets in there. And you're doing this a total of 16 times, so you're going to have 16 groups of 3 when you're done. So continue going around with these 3 double crochets, and we'll meet up right at the end of the round again. I've got my last set of 3 double crochets. This is where I joined my last round, so I have all these tails sticking up everywhere. Just kind of work around them, push them to the side until you're ready to weave them in. I'm just going to do my last single crochet and join up. Again, I have that nice V-stitch at the top so I can easily join my round with 2 loops. So I finish my slip stitch and then I can fasten off. And I'm almost done. All I have to do is weave in my ends. So get your, can't cut it with the holder on. So get your yarn needle out, follow your stitches and your color to weave in your ends. You've got a total of 8 ends to weave in. So this is a really cute project for colors, but you will have a lot of ends to weave in. So keep that in mind if you're going to be making a lot of these. You probably want to weave as you go so you're not having 1,000 ends to weave in at the very end. But this is your finished wagon wheel. You can use 4 different colors if you want, or just keep it with the 2 or make them all one color. But if you have any questions, leave them below, and thank you for watching.